Are you ready to get woke?
Hello, humans. What's going on? In this video, I just wanted to give some advice to anybody out there that is going through uh, dissolution of the ego, or anyone who's really hardcore on the spiritual path. If you're seeking spiritual enlightenment, you probably want to hear this one, because what I've gone through, inevitably, you will go through if you're really trying to wake up out of this dream. So for me, there was multiple experiences I've had in my life. Sometimes with plant medicines, once with acid, and then the really biggest ones without anything, just by the grace of God, where I knew I was dying. And the first part you really got to understand is it's not you that's dying, okay? You, the real you, cannot die. The real you is everything. The real you is, well, it's the experience I had right after I had my last ego death. That is a whole, we don't have time for all that. But let me just say this. The you that is temporary, the you that is in this world, but not going with you, yes? The ego, the ideas of who you are, your self-worth, all the fears, everything that comes from separation, all the labels people put on you, everything you've ever picked up to form this personality, this face mask for this world, we'll just call that your ego. That one dies. A quick analogy: when you're, think back to when you were 6. This would be a good way to start the video. Think back to when you were 6 years old. How much were you concerned with your level of success? Were you making enough money? Did enough people like you? Did you have enough approval from your coworkers or society, or what your parents thought, or how where would you rate yourself in terms of success? And how happy were you? I'm guessing you were happier than you are now, and you didn't have any of these concepts in your head whatsoever. So what happened from that point when we were kids, right, and we were happy doing whatever up until now? And the answer is conditioning. The conditioning that created this ego complex, this structure of who we think we are. And we use this structure for everything, right? Dealing with other people, getting our needs met, literally everything. Like that's who we are. We're actually this ego, or we think we are. The awakening / ego death is where you're experiencing consciousness without any of those layers, right? That's what a spiritual experience is, or samadhi is. You're in a much higher level of consciousness, much closer to the ultimate truth that we're all just all one consciousness. But and some beings go through layers, like they slowly strip away and they sort of get more and more and more into that truth, the ultimate. With me, it's just been these really freaking intense, crazy experiences where it's like, holy shit. And it's mind blowing and just crazy, and then you have to integrate for weeks or months afterwards. So if you are serious about waking up, you're going to experience that death at some point, because you can't experience. You can have a sneak peek at the ultimate, but if you really want to go there and stay there for some period of time, like to really identify, to remember the truth of all that is, you can't really be in this. You can't really be still in the illusion that you are really this person, because it's not the truth. And they're different realities completely, right? And so every time I visit that reality and I come back, it's difficult to really take this whole thing seriously. It's real on this level, but in the absolute, it's really not. And yeah, so you really get you don't get sucked into the story so much. You're just like, oh, whatever. But again, that's neither here nor there. That's for another video. So here's the advice, right? If you get to a point, and I don't care whether you're working with ayahuasca or other plant medicines, or you're just, it just happens suddenly, as in my case, with my at least most recent awakening. If you get to a point where you suddenly know you're about to die, and it's not like I could die or maybe I'm going to die, but it's just like, holy shit, I'm about to die, and you find yourself struggling for life in some kind of experience, energetic experience. So I'm not talking about like in real life. Like I'm not talking about just like, if you're sick or you're depressed or something like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you're in some kind of inexplicable spiritual awakening, whether on plant medicines or not, and you're in the etheric realms. You know what I'm saying? Your body's probably unconscious. You know what I'm saying? Or slumped against some wall somewhere in a tent in Peru. The advice is don't fight it. Don't fight it. And you want to fight because naturally you want to fight for your life, right? You don't want to die. You don't want this experience to be over. But it can never be over because you're a consciousness. So when you feel that fear, it's not actually you that's afraid to die. It's the ego, right? The ego is terrified of death because it knows it's not real. It's just a combination. It's just a compilation of like fears and beliefs that we've picked up. It's not ultimately real. So when you get to that point and you feel like you're going to die and you're freaking the fuck out, trust in the Creator, trust in the plan, and just let go. I don't think there's any way around it, really. Not for me, and from other stories I've had from other beings that have gone through this. There's no real choice. You can prolong your suffering by fighting, but it's not worth it. Just let go. Because when you let go, you may experience an egoic death, and it's tough. And it can be sometimes long and excruciating, and it can be very quick. In my recent awakening, it was very quick. I just realized I was going to die. I told my teacher, I'm dying. He said, it's okay. And I passed out. I let out a fucking death rattle scream, passed out, and then I went through a process where I was absolutely convinced that I was dying, which was weird because I just realized that I'm all beings forever. And I just accepted it because I'd had these experiences before. So I was like, okay, it's cool. I'm out of here. And I accepted it. And I was waiting to go to the light, to go back to source. And waited a while. I was kind of like looking at my imaginary watch going, all right, any second now. And then I woke up. And I thought I was dead. I thought I was in heaven and my teacher was there. And I thought he was my guide. And whoo, that was intense. And then I got up and I was able to, have a day of being just consciousness, all it is, existence, presence, God, everything in a human body. And that was something. So the death wasn't really that bad. It's what came later that was more difficult. It was the letting the separation, fear, frequencies, beliefs, whatever, out of the body. That was like a death process that actually took a couple of days. But the instant letting go of just, that was only one moment. So, if you're ever in that position, let go. Don't fight it. Just trust. It's going to be okay. Don't panic. Don't freak out. You're going to be all right. We've all gone through it before. All the beings that have had, I think, really big awakenings have to go through this at some point. So just be happy that you get to experience it in this lifetime. Yeah, and I'll link to the full episode of my podcast where I talk about this whole experience. It's episode number 46 of the Woke as Fuck podcast, and I think you'll like it. Yeah, that's about it.